Good afternoon. I actually don't know if this video will be watched in the afternoon or if it'll be watched in the morning, but nevertheless, good afternoon. So, for my grassroots assignment, I decided to do my grassroots summary in action on the anti-racism legislation topic, and what I decided to explore was the Stop Woke Act. So, just to give sort of a brief summary on what the Stop Woke Act is, it was an act that was passed by Governor DeSantis, and it just stands for Stopping the Wrongs to Our Kids and Employees Act. So, what this act specifically does is prohibit school districts, colleges, universities, and different jobs from hiring consultants, woke consultants, and it kind of stops them from exploring and talking about specific topics like critical race theory training. So now we'll kind of get into how that falls into the topic I decided to choose, which was the anti-racism legislation. So I don't think people truly understand the ramifications around this. So there's actually an article, and in order to give you the word for word, I'm going to pull it up very briefly. And the article just talks about how there is a specific districts where the percentage of white students enrollment fell by more than 18% since 2000, and how they were 3 times as likely as districts with minimal or no percentage of change in enrollment of white students to experience conflict over critical race theory. So basically, you have a suburban white school where majority of the school is white, and you have parents arguing over these specific policies. Now, why that data is so important is because it basically opens up the gateway for ignorance to be, spread. And not only that, not teaching about critical race theory or not being able to explore that topic in schools leads to lack of just an overall education and understanding about the history of this country. Now, a lot of people have a problem with it, and one of the main things that DeSantis talked about in his basically speech against critical race theory was the fact that it invokes hate and makes people feel bad for the actions that were done in the past. So the problem with that is the critical race theory does not teach hate. It doesn't incite hate. The only thing that critical race theory does is inform. It's informing, the people that's being educated on it, that in the past, when this country was built, when the system was built, it was built upon racism and prejudiceness against African American people. It was built so that we, African American, myself, I'm saying we because I'm African American, will remain underneath and at the bottom of the totem pole. You have things like redlining, you had segregation, you had people coming back from wars that were African American who couldn't utilize the different benefits that came with being in the military. Different things of that nature, and the list just goes on and on and on about how African Americans were pushed down, and they're continuing to being pushed down by the system that we live in. So my ask was that this act be, not implemented, and you have other states that actually implement this act, and other states that specifically mention critical race theory when they're implementing acts. So I don't want to go over my time because I know I'm approaching 5 minutes. But like I said, my ask is for this to be removed because you're basically taking away, a certain portion of important education and information that people need to be able to hear in America. So the only implementation I would say is, just removing this act. There doesn't need to be anything implemented. Well, we could also implement critical race theory actually being something that's required to be taught in history classes. Because also when you think about history classes, a lot of the stuff that I didn't learn about a lot of the stuff that I know about critical race theory, like redlining and things of that nature, until I took an elective in college that covered some of those topics. So I feel like it's important for schools to emphasize how important critical race theory is for education and just for understanding how America works. Because if you don't, like I said, you're inciting ignorance. You're inciting a lack of information. You're allowing information to not be passed. When you have the information, you're whitewashing the history of America, you know. So that's what I feel like, and that's why I decided to do it for my grassroots assignment.